Hello everyone, welcome back to another Top 10 Commander video. We're continuing the Redux series, going through every color combination, continuing 2 colors here with Selesnya. What you have here is a pretty solid color combination. You get removal, you get creatures, and the strategies are pretty interesting. You have tokens, you have +1/+1 counters. So starting it off here with number 10, we have Sigarda, Host of Herons. Not only is this one of the better angels, but it's also one of the most difficult to deal with creatures in the whole game. Flying in hexproof, spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause you to sacrifice permanents, which can be one of the more frustrating things to have to deal with, because when you play Voltron or any kind of deck where you don't have a ton of creatures, having to deal with Grave Pact abilities over and over again can pretty much make it so that you can't get back into the game. Sigarda eliminates that threat altogether. You don't sacrifice. She's also hexproof, so they can't even target her. Maybe not as powerful as she used to be. I think we have plenty of commander options now that do more. But without a doubt, if you're looking to make more of a pillow fort or just good stuff Selesnya deck, you can't really go wrong with her. And then number 9, we have Fracturing Gust. This is probably my pick for one of the most underrated cards in all of Commander. For 5 mana instant speed, you destroy all artifacts and enchantments, and you gain 2 life for each permanent destroyed this way, which I think the first part is good enough for 5 mana instant speed, but you also factor in the life gain. It just makes this card even better, and you're gaining 2 life at a time in a commander game where you start out with 40 life. If you can recover most of that back, you can definitely survive into the late game. We have some pretty solid removal, and I think we have probably one of the better removal cards in the whole game within Selesnya colors, but this is just one of them. I mean, you're going to see even better ones like number 8, which is Sylvan Reclamation. Now, basic land cycling is somewhat relevant. Opening hand, if you only have a land or 2 lands, this can really help you out, get you a basic so you're not missing a land drop earlier in the game. For 5 mana instant speed, you pretty much have a better Return to Dust, because there's no restriction at all. You pretty much get to exile 2 artifacts / enchantments, either or, making it very versatile. Exile removal is the best removal, because it's more of a permanent solution to your problems. And while it's not quite the kind of impact that I think you would have with a Fracturing Gust, I think it's more flexible. And exiling removal with this kind of precision means that you're not also hitting any of your artifacts or enchantments. Number 7, we have Sterling Grove. Gives Shroud for all of your other enchantments, which is pretty good. I mean, Selesnya does have an affinity for enchantments, so this is pretty much the perfect card for that. You can also pay a mana and sacrifice it to search your library for an enchantment card, and then put it on top of your deck. So in addition to protecting your other enchantments, it's also a tutor, which is pretty cool. In the number 6, we have a newer card. It's not super new, but we have Feiborough Elder. Believe it or not, I think this is the newest card on the whole list. Not even so much specific to Selesnya, because you're obviously going to play it in a 4 or 5 color deck where you can take advantage of having just different colors on the field. So you could potentially get up to 5 mana every time you tap it. It gets more power and toughness for each other color too. You pretty much have a Selesnya staple in multicolored decks now, which any kind of permanent, any kind of creature that can net you a ton of mana, it could be mana of any color, you know you have a good card. Number 5, we have Privileged Position. Other permanents you control have hexproof. Now, if you took Sterling Grove, but you took away the specific enchantment support and just made it all of your other permanents, you'd get Privileged Position. It's like Sigarda, it's going to be a headache to have to deal with. It's the first line of defense for your whole board, and your opponents have to deal with it first before they can do anything else, in most scenarios. If they have a massive board wipe that can deal with everything, then they don't have to worry. But in most cases, that's not going to happen. It's going to sit on the field, and your opponents may have to waste their best removal spell just to deal with that, and they may not have anything better to follow it up with. So it's a big nuisance. It baits out great removal. You can expect this from cards in Selesnya, because that's a lot of what they do, is just protect your board, maintain your board presence. And then number 4 is Captain Cise. You can tap her to search your library for a legendary card and then put it into your hand. She is pretty much a legendary card tutor. There have been several rule changes over the years, especially the one that made Planeswalkers legendary cards, which meant that you could search up any Planeswalker in the history of Magic the Gathering. So you pretty much just made a tutor more powerful. People had no complaints about her before. She was already pretty decent, but you add in the ability to tutor up pretty much anything if it's legendary. Tutoring is usually going to be a powerful thing that you do in the game anyway. Having a repeatable tutor is just insane. And then number 3, we have Mirari's Wake. Now, we have a bunch of mana doublers, and this is one of the older ones, all the way back in Judgment. It's a green-white enchantment, but it pretty much is perfect for any kind of multicolored deck, because it doubles whatever mana you could produce, while also giving your creatures a +1/+1 anthem. Mana production is one of the more sought-after things in Commander, because you're going to have to play some pretty beefy spells. And if you have a mana doubler, you pretty much only have to wait half the time until you play the spells you want to play. It's great for mana sinks, it's great for X-costed spells, and while it's not quite the powerful Selesnya enchantment that it was before, like with most cards you're going to see in the game, if it's been around for some time, it's aged a bit. We see other mana doublers, we see other mana rocks, more mana production. Having a mana doubler isn't quite the, oh my god, he's about to win that it used to be. And then number 2, we have Eladamri's Call. Now, I just mentioned with Captain Cise how powerful tutors are. What we have here is a 2-mana tutor at instant speed that just gets a creature straight to your hand. The strength of black tutors is that you don't have to reveal the card that you searched up. Unfortunately, for most tutors outside of black, you are going to have to reveal what you search up, and because Eladamri's Call specifically states that it has to be a creature, you have to reveal a creature to prove that you searched up a creature and not anything else. However, because it's instant speed, you pretty much have the ambush factor here. The less time between you casting this spell and being able to get the card to your hand, the better off you're going to be. Now, there's nothing to stop you from playing this during your main phase like a sorcery, but you do have that ambush factor that I absolutely love in tutors, where you could wait for your opponents to play out their turn, wait for them to overextend, and then respond by getting your best creature. Just very powerful, tutors usually are. If you have that precision with a card like this in a game like EDH, where everything's inconsistent, you're probably going to do well. Alright, now before I go on to number 1, gonna talk about some honorable mentions here. We have Safi Eriksdottir and Gaddock Teague. These are pretty cool commander cards, but I don't think they quite see the play that they used to. We also have Selvala Explorer Returned and Tristani Selesnya's Voice. 2 pretty solid Selesnya commander options. I think these still see play. I know there are some cool Selvala decks that can combo and go infinite, but I don't really tend to factor that in when I'm making my decisions for top 10 cards. And then we have the new card Yasharn, which I love this. It's like Angel of Jubilation, but it also gets you land, so it's worth something outside of just oppressing your opponents. Alright everyone, so the number 1 card is Aura Shards. In Selesnya, I don't think there's a more powerful card than Aura Shards. There are a ton of decks that can abuse ETBs, making this almost a guarantee to remove everything on the board, or everything your opponents have that's an artifact or enchantment. I talked about how powerful it could be to get several uses out of something like Captain Cise, but with Aura Shards you're getting several ETBs, kind of like a Rec Sage, where you get to destroy an artifact or enchantment. That's pretty powerful. For how little mana you actually pay to play this card, it does so much. Like, I honestly think if they had this kind of card printed today, it would at least be 7 mana. Like a 7 mana enchantment to do the same exact thing. And you know it too. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the 10 best cards in Selesnya. Void here signing off. See you all next time.